Chris Watts, a name that became infamous overnight, was once seen as the epitome of the perfect family man. Born in North Carolina, Chris met Shannon in 2010 and the couple married 2 years later. They settled in a picturesque home in Frederick, Colorado, where they started their family. Shannon, an active social media user, often posted about their life, showcasing a seemingly ideal existence filled with joy and affection. Their two daughters, Bella and Celeste, were the center of their world, often featured in Shannon's posts, smiling and playing. Shannon worked for a multi level marketing company promoting health and wellness products, while Chris had a steady job at Anadarko Petroleum. Together, they appeared to be living the American dream. Their social media profiles painted a picture of a loving, supportive family unit. Shannon frequently praised Chris for being a wonderful husband and father, and their home videos showed family outings, celebrations, and ordinary moments of happiness. To friends and neighbors, the Watts family seemed perfect. They were friendly, engaged in community events, and always appeared to be close knit. Their home was immaculate, their children well cared for, and their social media accounts a testament to their happy life. But behind this facade, dark secrets and growing tensions were about to shatter the image of perfection forever. August 13, 2018 began like any other day, but it quickly turned into a nightmare. Shannon, who was 15 weeks pregnant, returned home from a business trip in the early hours of the morning. She was last seen by a friend who dropped her off at her house around 1:48 a.m. Later that day, when Shannon missed a scheduled doctor's appointment and failed to return calls and messages, her friend grew concerned and reported her missing to the police. Chris Watts, Shannon's husband, appeared cooperative when he arrived home to find police officers conducting a welfare check. He allowed them into the house, but Shannon and the girls were nowhere to be found. Her car, along with the children's car seats, was still at home, raising further alarm. Inside the house, Shannon's purse, phone, and medications were left untouched, which was unusual and concerning. As the hours passed with no word from Shannon, her friends and family became increasingly worried. They took to social media, spreading the word about the missing mother and her daughters, hoping to gather any information that could help locate them. News outlets quickly picked up the story, and the disappearance of Shannon and her young daughters, Bella and Celeste, began to garner widespread attention. Footage from news reports showed concerned neighbors and a visibly distressed Chris making public pleas for their safe return. Friends and family described Shannon as a devoted mother who would never leave her children behind, intensifying the urgency of the situation. As the day turned into night with no sign of Shannon or her daughters, fear and suspicion began to grow, setting the stage for a dark revelation. The police quickly launched an investigation into the disappearance of Shannon and her daughters. From the beginning, Chris's behavior drew attention. He appeared on local TV, pleading for his family's safe return, but his calm demeanor and somewhat detached manner struck many as unusual. Observers noted that he lacked the emotional intensity one would expect from a husband and father in such a dire situation. As the investigation progressed, Chris's inconsistent stories and unusual behavior raised red flags for law enforcement. He provided conflicting accounts of the events leading up to his family's disappearance, which only deepened the suspicions of the investigators. Chris claimed that he had seen Shannon early in the morning before leaving for work and that she and the girls were gone when he returned. In a critical move, investigators decided to administer a polygraph test to Chris. The test results were damning. He failed, which indicated deception. This failure was a significant turning point in the investigation. Detectives, now convinced that Chris knew more than he was admitting, intensified their scrutiny. During intense questioning, Chris began to crack under the pressure. The inconsistencies in his narrative became glaring, and his previously calm facade started to crumble. Detectives pressed harder, determined to uncover the truth. The polygraph failure marked a pivotal moment, prompting investigators to dig deeper into Chris's life and relationships, uncovering shocking secrets that would soon bring the truth to light. Under intense scrutiny, Chris Watts eventually confessed to the unthinkable. Faced with mounting evidence and relentless questioning, he admitted to murdering his pregnant wife, Shannon, in their home. Chris described how, in a fit of rage, he strangled Shannon after an argument. The chilling details of his confession left investigators and the nation stunned. The horror didn't end there. Chris went on to reveal the most gruesome part of his crime. He smothered his two young daughters, Bella and Celeste, in cold blood. According to his confession, he loaded their lifeless bodies into his truck along with Shannon's and drove them to an oil field owned by his employer, Anadarko Petroleum. At the oil field, Chris buried Shannon in a shallow grave and then committed the unthinkable act of disposing of Bella and Celeste's bodies in separate oil tanks. The calculated and cold manner in which he described these actions shocked everyone who heard it. As the details of the confession came to light, the nation was left grappling with the sheer brutality and senselessness of the murders. News outlets broadcasted the grim revelations, and the public reaction was one of overwhelming disbelief and outrage. The image of Chris Watts as a loving family man was shattered irreparably, replaced by the horrifying truth of his monstrous actions. What could drive a man to such brutality? The investigation uncovered that Chris Watts was having an affair with a coworker, Nicole Kessinger, and facing significant financial troubles. These factors contributed to his desire for a fresh start without the burdens he associated with his family. Chris's affair had intensified in the weeks leading up to the murders. He told Nickel that he was in the process of separating from Shannon, painting a picture of an unhappy marriage. This new relationship made him yearn for a life free from the responsibilities and challenges of his existing family. In addition to his affair, the Watts family was drowning in debt. They had filed for bankruptcy in 2015 and financial pressures continued to mount. Chris's job at Anadarko Petroleum wasn't enough to cover their expenses, leading to growing strain and tension within the household. Faced with the prospect of a new life with Nickel and a desperate need to escape his financial woes, Chris made the incomprehensible decision to murder his family. His motive, driven by selfishness and a desire to start over, left everyone horrified. The community of Frederick, Colorado, where the Watts family had lived, was left in shock and disbelief. Friends and neighbors struggled to reconcile the loving family they thought they knew with the horrific reality of Chris's actions. The aftermath of the murders was devastating. Shannon's family was shattered by the loss of their daughter, grandchildren, and unborn grandson. The community mourned the senseless tragedy, holding vigils and memorials to honor Shannon, Bella, and Celeste. The case also sparked widespread media coverage, with people around the world grappling with the incomprehensible nature of the crime. As the details emerged, the Watts family home became a symbol of tragedy, and the once seemingly perfect life of Chris Watts was forever marred by his heinous acts. The story served as a chilling reminder of the hidden darkness that can exist behind closed doors. The trial of Chris Watts was swift, largely due to his confession. In November 2018, Chris pled guilty to multiple counts of first-degree murder, unlawful termination of a pregnancy, and tampering with a deceased human body. His plea deal spared him the death penalty, but the sentencing was severe. Chris was sentenced to 5 life sentences without the possibility of parole, ensuring he would spend the rest of his life behind bars. During the sentencing, the court heard heartbreaking statements from Shannon's family. Her father, Frank Arzusek, spoke about the immense grief and pain caused by the loss of his daughter and granddaughters. Shannon's brother, Frankie Arzusek, expressed his disbelief and sorrow over the senseless tragedy. One of the most poignant moments came when Shannon's mother, Sandra Arzusek, addressed Chris directly. Through tears, she spoke of her love for her daughter and grandchildren and the unbearable heartache their loss had caused. She forgave Chris but made it clear that he had destroyed countless lives. The final verdict brought some closure to Shannon's family and the community, but the scars left by Chris's actions would remain forever. The public was captivated by the Watts family murders, and media coverage was extensive. News outlets followed every development, and the case quickly became a national and international story. The sheer brutality of the crime and the stark contrast between the family's public image and the hidden reality shocked people around the world. Documentaries, books, and movies soon followed, each exploring different facets of the horrific events. Netflix released a documentary titled American Murder: The Family Next Door, which used archival footage, social media posts, and text messages to recount the story. Other networks and publishers also produced detailed accounts of the case, delving into Chris's background, the investigation, and the trial. The case remains a point of morbid fascination, reflecting society's dark curiosity with true crime. People were drawn to the inexplicable nature of the crime, seeking to understand how a seemingly normal man could commit such atrocities. The Watts family murders serve as a chilling reminder of the potential for darkness within and the importance of vigilance and support within our communities. The Chris Watts family murders are a stark reminder of the hidden darkness that can lurk behind a seemingly perfect facade. This tragedy has left an indelible mark on everyone who followed it, raising profound questions about trust, betrayal, and the nature of evil. Thank you for watching Joystick News. If you found this story compelling, please like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us bring you more in depth true crime stories. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.